Okay, the story I am going to read is called The Pine Tree. Ready? In a forest grew a little pine tree. Like all other pine trees, his branches were covered with needles instead of with leaves. So he thought, "These needles of mine do not please me. All the trees in the forest have pretty leaves. I too should like to have pretty leaves. But as it costs nothing to wish, and as long as I am wishing for leaves, I might as well wish for prettier leaves than the other trees have. Gold leaves, ah yes, how I should like to have leaves of gold." At night the little tree fell asleep, and he woke up in the morning, and lo and behold, instead of slender green needles, he found every single one of his branches covered with leaves of pure gold. He was very happy. Now he said proudly to himself, "I am more beautiful than any other tree in the whole forest. None of them, poor things, has such beautiful leaves as mine." But along about noontime, a peddler with a huge sack over his shoulder wandered into the forest. The shimmering, glistening, shining gold leaves stood out from all the rest. The peddler came up to the pine tree, and when he examined the leaves and saw that they were of pure gold, his joy knew no bounds. Quicker than it can be told, the peddler took his sack of his shoulder, put it on the ground, and went to work, stripping the pine tree of its golden leaves. Every one of them was stuffed into the huge sack, and when he had made sure that the tree was entirely bare, the peddler once more hoisted the sack and left the forest.
That look like ants.
It's a tree. He took the leaves off the tree and put them in his bag because they were made of gold.
That's a pokey thing.
Yeah, it's a tree.
Why does it have pokey things?
Because it's a tree. It's branches. The pine tree shook and trembled while the golden leaves were being stripped. And now as he shivered in the chill air, he cried, "I shall never again ask for leaves of gold. Men will always rob me of them. Oh, how I should like to have leaves of glass. They could not be carried away." At night the tree fell asleep, and when he awoke in the morning, lo and behold, every one of his branches was covered with leaves of glass. They sparkled and shone in the sunlight. How beautiful they were! No other leaves in the forest were so beautiful. And our little pine tree was happy and proud. But along about noontime a sharp wind arose. It was a howling, growling storm wind. It whirled and swirled around the pine tree, blowing fiercely through his branches and shaking him without mercy. Every one of the glass leaves fell to the ground and broke into 1,000 pieces. Once more the pine tree was left bare, shivering in the chill air. He thought, "Perhaps if I had ordinary green leaves, just like all the other trees in the forest, perhaps then I would be content." At night the tree fell asleep, and when he awoke in the morning, lo and behold, he was decked out in real green leaves. But along about noontime a frisky little goat ran into the forest and passed along by the pine tree. The goat was hungry, and the juicy leaves of the pine tree were just within her reach. So she ate every single one of them. And once again, the pine tree found himself bare and shivering in the chill air. And now he said to himself, "Why did I ever wish for leaves at all? What need has a pine tree for leaves? Leaves of gold, or leaves of glass, or real leaves? Someone will always steal the golden ones. The wind will throw down and shatter the glass ones, and some animal or other will be sure to eat up the real leaves. Now I see that my own needles suited me best. Oh, how I wish I had them back." At night the tree fell asleep, and when he awoke in the morning, lo and behold, he was dressed once more in his own slender, fragrant green needles. And now at last he was really happy, and in the truth must be told, he was lucky. For just suppose that his last wish had not been granted. That's the end of the story.